Let me introduce myself, and I'm Albert. So I think most of you might have known me. As you can see from my face, I'm a Chinese Australian. Today, I would like to talk to you about the Yellow River. So let me just share the screen first. Yellow River. Okay, I hope you can see my screen. Um, the last time when I present this, I started with the Yellow River Cantata, but I think playing you the music will be a bit too long and a bit doubt, especially we don't know your sound equipment. How that be? So what I'm going to do is actually just play you a little bit, and then we'll continue with the Yellow River story. So the Yellow River Cantata was written in the Sino-Japanese War. So that was a reason composed by this guy on the screen, Xin Xinhai. He he composed this music in about a week after he heard a poem. And he think that the poem is very good to convert into a musical. So he did it, and then they presented on the day of performance. The score is still writing, so it was quite a challenge. But anyway, um, it is a full Western style orchestra accompanied by a full soprano, alto, tenor, and bass choir. So four parts in the singing part, and then a full orchestra. Originally, I would like you to listen to three movements, but at the moment, I'm going to just let you listen for a bit, and then we'll continue with the story. So here we go. Come on. Sorry, the video doesn't move, doesn't play. So just let me skip the video, skip that song, and then we'll continue with that one. Okay, in terms of the geography of the Yellow River, the Yellow River started in the Xinhai Plateau, so it is on the western side of China. China's general geography is it is high on the west side and sea level in the east. The highest mountain in China is actually the Himalayas, so it is pretty high over there. So the Yellow River started somewhere in the Qinghai Plateau and then flow winding through an area. This particular area has a very interesting soil. It's called the Loess. The Loess soil is clumpy and is very easy to be broken off, and it is a yellowish. So as the rain falls, then the um, Laos get washed in the river and actually make the river yellow, and that's why it is called the Yellow River, because the river itself is actually yellow, and then it winds through the China's most productive agricultural land, the Manchuria plainlands. This is where a lot of rice and other produce are produced before it empties into the nearby sea. The amount of silt carried by Yellow River is huge, and therefore this is change increasing year by year. So at the Yellow River mouth, the delta is actually increasing. But at the same time, because there are so much silt in the river tends to break banks. Now, it is the second longest river after the Yangtze River in China, and it is the sixth largest in the world. It has approximately 5,500 kilometers long. The Yellow River extend cover quite a large area for its drainage. It is essential for the Chinese existence because basically it nurtures quite a lot of people, but at the same time it is also produce a lot of deadly floods, including some recorded in history as killing the most people. For example, in the Qing Dynasty, 1887, it is estimated to have killed around 800,000 to 2 million people. And another one during the Republic of China. Now, remember, the current government in China is the People's Republic of China. The Republic of China in 1931, at that time, there isn't a People's Republic of China. The People's Republic of China was formed in 1949. So that was the China after the Qing Dynasty, and this Republic of China now exists in Thailand, in Taiwan. So at that flood, it again estimated to have killed 1 to 4 million people. So the Yellow River has been a very productive river, but at the same time, because of its nature of carrying so much silk in its water, it is very easy to change course. The cause of the floods is mainly due to the loess carried from the Loess Plateau, and it deposits in the bottom of the channel. So eventually it shallow the river banks, and eventually water will overflow the banks. Traditionally, the Chinese has been building higher and higher river banks in order to stop the river from overflowing. So as a result, the Yellow River's riverbank is actually higher than the land around it. That makes an even worse situation. Now, normally, when a river broke its bank, then the water flow out. But after the water lower its level, the water will be able to flow back to the river and then carry away. But in the case of Yellow River, it can't, because once it's broke the bank, the whole volume of water will overflow to its nearby land, and there's no way for the water to flow back to the river. So that's why the Yellow River has been killing so many people over the years. Again, the Yellow River has been changing its course all the time because of that. The pink line at the top is in the Yuan Dynasty, and then in the Northern Song Dynasty, Han and Tang Dynasty, and then the Ming Dynasty and Qing Dynasty is actually the one at the bottom, the brown one, and the current one is in black, flowing back to the. So it has been changing its river routes. So you can imagine the amount of damage that change of route. Sorry?
Can't see it on the screen.
You can't see it on the screen?
Only words.
No, okay. Because this can you see the cursor? Now this is the modern river. It carries about 1.6 billion tons of silk down the Loess Plateau every year, and approximately 1.4 billion is carried to the sea, but there's still left with about 200 million tons of silk. So there's a big problem. The amount of silk per cubic meter is estimated at 34 kilograms. compare with, say, Colorado, which is 10, and now, which is 1. So it carries a large amount of silk. It is one of the river in the world which carries many, many settlements.
Excuse me, Albert. You're showing words rather than a map. I think you possibly intend to show us the map.
I show you the map in this. Can you see the map?
No.
No. Okay. So what are you seeing? Do you see the words?
The Yellow River is one of several rivers.
Oh, it is so delayed. Is it okay? Let me just stop the screen sharing and share it once again. Okay, stop that.
That would be good. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I didn't know because I can't see what you see. Okay, share again. What do you see now?
No, just the words. The Yellow River is notable.
Yeah. Okay. So let me go back to the screen before it. Come on, go back. Go back. Up. Can you see the map now?
Yes, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. So here is the map which I was talking about. On the pink line, there is in the Yuan Dynasty, and then it moves progressively downward. By the Ming and Qing dynasties, come to the bottom here, in the brown. Nowadays, we work back to this black line over there, so it even changes its river mouth to different sea. So that is one of the big problem of the Yellow River. As I said, it carries about 1.6 billion tons of silk, and 1.4 of them go into the sea, but that still left 200 million tons along its riverbed. It discharged quite a bit of water into the sea, but in recent years, there has been times when the Yellow River actually run dry. So that tell you how the water volume may fluctuate between years. Some years it will have a lot of water, other years it might even have drought. So because it is very unpredictability of the Yellow River, so it has been a river killing a lot of people. Another problem with the Yellow River is also its peak versus the demand. The Yellow River water comes from the melting of ice in the Himalayas, in the Qinghai plateaus. So as the weather get warmer, the water level get higher, water flow get higher. But it won't melt until summer. So its peak season is the rainy season in July to October, as well as being a summer. This is where 60% of its annual flow flows. But for irrigation purpose, the farmer need to plant by March, and that means they will have a large demand of the water in March and June. So these two doesn't match. Because of this timing doesn't match, it also causes a lot of problem. Now, one method of doing that is actually build a large dams to store the water there at the peak season, and then next year when the demands come, you release the water so that you can supply it for irrigation. Well, that is a good plan, except for the Yellow River, it doesn't work. Because for Yellow River, it has so much silk. That means your dam will be very quickly filled with silks and no longer able to hold water. And because also as the water flow is pretty high volume, it has a lot of potential for generating hydroelectricity. So in order to build dams and make use of the potential of getting hydroelectricity, the dams had to be designed in very special ways in order to overcome this problem. Another proposal is that's called South North Water Transfer Project. Take some water from the Yangtze River and divert the water into the Yellow River. Now that problem has always been in the Chinese people's mind because the north of China is very dry, whereas the south of China is pretty wet. So here in China, we have a region with a lot of water, and another region is short of water. So one the idea was, well, why don't we transfer some of the water from the high rainfall area into the dry area? So that's the South North Water Transfer Project. Maybe probably later I will do a special sessions just on this South North Water Transfer Project. But at the time being, there are some ideas in that way, and the South North Water Transfer Project Phase 1 has already been completed. Traditionally, Chinese civilization originated from the Yellow River Basin. Okay, so this is our mother river, but at the same time, it is also the China's sorrow because of so easy to block its bank and so forth. It has always been known to be a muddy flow, and that's why it's called Yellow River. And in 2017, in September, there was an article in Global Times saying that tons of sediments had disappeared from the Yellow River, and the Yellow River actually becomes clear. So why? What happened? What made the Yellow River clear on that period? Well, because all these Yellow River settlements come from the Loess Plateau. So if the Loess Plateau can protect its soil so that there's no more rushing off of the dirt and soil from the Loess Plateau, then it will reduce the settlement in the Yellow River as well as make the river clear. So between 2000 and 2015, there was a huge Loess Plateau greening project. That greening project have to stop a lot of louse being washed into the river, and therefore the river has been kept clear. So during the dry season, when there's not much rain falling into the Loess Plateau, then the Yellow River becomes clear, and the amount of silt carried downwards reduced to 0.8 of a kilogram per cubic meter, compared with 30-something kilograms per cubic meter. So there's a huge reduction. But the condition is you have to make sure the Loess Plateau no longer lost its soil. So that has, after the greening of Loess Plateau, that has already achieved clearing for more than 10 years now. So again, a lot of people also argue about whether there's a good thing or bad thing for the ecology along the Yellow River, because a lot of animals and plants might have evolved to deal with the amount of louse in the river. Once the louse is gone, how will that affect their living environments? So there's still a lot of research to be done at the moment, and this kind of research haven't been completed yet. So I have no information about what is the conclusion yet. The decrease in sediments also is caused by construction, engineering project, etc. So we will look at it a little bit later on. Well, do you see a photograph here? Hello? Are you still there?
Yes, we can hear the photo. We can see the photograph.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. Now, this photograph is from one of the dams. every year before the peak season, they will open up the dam using the bottom valves to allow all these collected settlements from last year to be flushed down the river in order to prepare space for the coming peak water volume. And because of that, that has become a tourist attraction. People will go there every year to watch this release of water to wash out the settlement. So every year, thousands of tourists actually going there, usually at the end of June to beginning of July, in about 2 weeks. But as the water level getting drier and drier, that has become unnecessary. But because there's a tourist, so they keep on doing it, but not in a full-time way, but rather as a demonstration. At certain time, they open up the gates and let the tourists see the discharge of settlements, and then close it. Next day, do it again. So integration with tourism, I suppose. So it has been doing like that since 2002. But as I said, sometimes they don't need to do it, but now they continue doing it for demonstration purpose. Now, the picture you see here is some Laos Plateau's cities. So it is a movie. Let me play the movie for you. It's not very long, about 10 minutes. Come on, play.
Albert, if on the top left-hand side, turn on original sound, can you try to turn that on by clicking turn on original sound?
The top right-hand corner.
The left-hand corner.
Left-hand corner.
Turn on original sound.
I can't see that.
No. Okay, never mind.
Let me see where. Oh, the screen pass. Let me just go back here. Let's see whether I can play it or not. No, I can't. Well, what I can do is go to YouTube and play it through YouTube. Are you seeing a YouTube coming up?
If you manage a team, you should be using Monday.com. It's a platform to manage any team and any project.
Can you hear that and see that?
Yes, that's okay. Thank you.
Good.
我们原前是98年以前，你像这个山上，你根本看不到一点树，也看不到一点草，全部都是那个荒山荒坡，羊身狗吃的一片空白啊！一刮起大风是满嘴沙尘，一下起暴雨的话，就遍山都是泥糊子。
我觉着，如果我把这些生态资源 能够利用好，再加上我所学的专业知识，再加上对这个林相经济这个新的经济模式的这种热爱，我觉着能够在这个农村做出一篇大有文章可做。
Okay, so that is this movie. It can play now. So here is a comparison photographs. This photographs obviously has been taken at the same place. On the left is the Loess Plateau before restoration or during restoration. And on the right is the Loess Plateau after restoration. The main restoration they have done consists of several parts. Number one is keep the mountain top covered by trees. So the trees involve some native trees as well as some fruit trees. In the slope of the mountain, they built terraces. So the terraces will be allocated to the farmers who help build the terrace. So you can create one terrace, you own one terrace. You create two, you own two terraces. That is a motivation for the farmers to actually work pretty hard to create all these terraces. And then there's the third thing which is done at the bottom of the river. At the bottom of the river, they build dams at the lower region. As the silt walks down, the dams get filled up by the silks. And then after a while, they will dig a channel next to the newly created silk farmland, which will be very flat because the water will sit its level. So as the silk wash down, it is collected by the dams and then eventually create a farmland. After the creation of farmland, they put in little trenches deep enough next to it to allow the water flow, and then they build another dam a little bit upstream, and so on. So they also created farmlands in the riverbed. So this is the terrace they built. The top picture shows the process of they are doing it. You see there the dark dots there. There are people there working on it. And the lower picture, again taken at the same location, you see they are planting quite a bit of vegetation there. It is another view from that, but I don't think I'm going to play this video. So let's move on. Come on. Move on. Hey, come on. Okay, this one I think I'd like to play it to you. Is from the World Bank, again about that project. Come on.
China's Loess Plateau is an area the size of France, stretching across parts of 7 different Chinese provinces. In historic annals, this area is described as a huge forest with rushing rivers and wild animals. It's also the cradle of Chinese civilization along the Yellow River Basin. The impact of thousands of years of human habitation, combined with a lack of understanding about the fragile soil, has left much of the area devastated. Here, poverty is widespread, and its solutions are much more difficult than in more hospitable areas.
贫困地区呢，是一些自然条件、生态条件最差的一些地区。用中国话来说，现在剩下的是最难啃的硬骨头。所以呢，他们呢自身的条件差，所以呢社会发展严重的滞后，所以要扶贫、要改变面貌相当难。
Loess is a very fine wind-borne sedimentary soil, dangerously prone to erosion. When ancient Chinese cut the trees, they began a process that seemed destined to lead to large-scale desertification throughout the area.
过去全部我们这都是秒杀了，就像拿我这儿住的这个地方，也是全部是沙，从7、8年，以后起初是连温饱问题也解决不了，吃不饱，穿不上。
But 10 years ago, the Chinese government, with World Bank loans and technical support, began what ultimately may be the largest development project on Earth, the ecological rehabilitation of the Loess Plateau. In 1994, the Loess Plateau project was begun with the goals to repair the ecological damage to watersheds in the Yellow River Basin and help the local people increase their income. The thought of rehabilitating such a huge region that had suffered so much devastation over so long a time can be hard to grasp. It is equally hard for the people living in the region to understand. In order for the project to succeed, it was necessary to engage the local population and explain the scientific concepts, as well as how they could participate and benefit. This effort will not be finished quickly and requires many generations to join in the effort. The first stage is a massive engineering task.
不留这个裸露地，
不留裸露地，我叫它水都跑了。
对。
The technical planning and financing are centralized, but the local people are doing the work. In the bottom of the gullies, warping dams are built. These are designed to fill up with silt from erosion within a relatively short time, making flat fields and stopping the soil from leaving the area. As soon as one warping dam is filled, another is built higher up in the gully. The process creates rich, fertile fields in the bottom of the eroded ravines. The next step is terracing the sides of the ravines. When the slope is not too great, terrace fields can be built. This can be done by hand or by the use of mechanized earth movers. When the slopes are too steep for terrace fields, fish-scale terraces can be built, which are just large enough for single trees or bushes to be planted. All the terracing makes it possible to introduce the second stage of rehabilitation, the introduction of trees and other plants. In the flat fields formed by the warping dams, it is possible to raise annual crops. In the terrace fields and in the fish-scale terraces, it's better to plant trees and perennial crops. Fruit trees have been especially successful. Additional active measures such as dune stabilization and the introduction of grasses and bushes specially selected for their ability to withstand desert conditions are beginning to have a profound effect on the region. The engineering and biological components of the project are crucial, but it has proved equally important that ownership structures be put into effect to guarantee that the terraces will be maintained and the trees and other plants cared for. The project created the incentive by providing the local people with the opportunity to work their own fields through low-cost, long-term leases. After they participate in the rehabilitation work, for which they are paid, they can acquire land use rights for the new fields, and the productive output belongs to them. Desertification is not a natural phenomenon. It's caused by destructive habits that are all too often continued by the hopelessness of poverty. Sheep and goats have long been recognized as one of the most destructive influences on the area. But traditional herding is part of the culture, and the valuable wool is one of the most important economic outputs of the region. To help raise the quality of the herds, the project has helped herders to access higher quality animal stocks. The project has promoted feeding fodder to the herds in pens. This keeps the animals from pulling the grasses up by the roots, protecting the fragile soil. Sustainable water management, as in this reservoir, stores water from the seasonal rains, avoids depleting finite supplies like underground aquifers, and ensures that the water resources necessary will continue to be available as the land and the people develop. Qin Zhifu was an environmental refugee. His family came to Yaototsun in Shanxi 47 years ago, seeking higher ground as they fled the Yellow River's flooding.
下雨呢，就是坡坡地整个都拉成河坡子了，整个是坑水坑，有些都拉一二尺深，水土流失特别严重。现在这就水土保持得很好，不管山上到沟里边，都把水固定在原来地方就存住了。这都是不管从雨地坝、果敢坝，还有咱这十行项目栽树，这挖的条条，这都是把水土起码是控制住了，流失是问题。
10 years after the first warping dams and terraces were built, there is visible and measurable improvement. The warping dams have filled with silt and made flat fields in the ravines. New warping dams higher up have continued this until entire gullies have been covered. It has been proven again and again throughout history that human impact can destroy fragile ecosystems and especially disrupt the hydrological cycle. China's Loess Plateau project is providing valuable evidence that it may be possible to restore large-scale damaged ecosystems. For China, with 22% of the world's population, but only 7% of the world's arable land, creating fertile fields from ecologically devastated regions is particularly important. Scaling up this kind of project will have profound implications for China and potentially the world.
Okay, if you like to see the full documentation, the one documentary I can recommend is Green Gold by John D. Liu. So you can search for that on YouTube, and this is the location of it. You can watch it at your time. It is only about 47 minutes long, but you have already watched the extract. Okay, now that's my presentation. I'm leaving more time for discussion. So please, any suggestion, questions, and so forth?
Thank you very much, Albert. Could you stop share?
Okay, stop share.
We see all the pictures. And if people would like to put their hand up when they would like to ask a question, and Albert will be happy to answer the question.
Yes.
Greg Howie.
Yes, I've been booked into a tripper deal, and that has 4 days on the Yangtze. Are there any China tours which go to the Loess Plateau?
Yangtze River is quite far away from the Yellow River, so that you might like, after your Yangtze tour, you might like to take a high-speed train and go to the Yellow River. And I don't know which that you could do online. You probably will be able to find some tourist spots along the Yellow River, which you might be interested. But offhand, I can't tell you which city to visit. But Yangtze River and Yellow River are 2 different rivers.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Jenny Miles.
Many years ago, we visited the Yellow River, and they were trying to develop a boat trip along it, and we were the first people that had gone on this trip. But I don't think it ever developed, because you would go to the edge of the river and it would just fall away. You'd see large chunks of it ready to go, and they had a piece of board across, and you just hoped you got on the boat before the whole lot collapsed. So quite frightening, really. And to get off the boat at the other end, they had nowhere, no dock or pier. You just threw the board out and you ran. And later on, we went on another year. We went on a what are those things that throw the water up everywhere? Hovercraft. And of course you couldn't see a thing because it shot the water and the silt up everywhere, and that was all you could see. So I doubt there's anything you can do on it. Sunman Shah is a place you can go to from where you can sit. I think there's a dam there. It's Sunman Shah.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, along the Yellow River, there are now I recall along the Yellow River there are quite a number of historical sites. So I'm sure if you search online, you will find some historical site along the Yellow River. But I think I remember there's a very interesting tourist attraction. Is to use the sheepskin crafts. Basically, they have a sheep, keep its skin, and then remove everything inside, and then blow up the sheepskin as a balloon and tie it under a wooden platform, and then you can roll across the Yellow River on that little thing. So might be interesting, but might not be appropriate for our age.
I want 4 stars. Thank you.
Does anyone have a question? Would you put your hand up, please? Nancy?
Yes, Albert, with all these terrace field, people grow a lot of fruits and things, right? But how did they going to transport it to the city to sell them? Because they all like little desert, low road or anything to go anywhere.
Well, the poverty alleviation poverty relief program in China, they are building concrete roads to every village. So they are building this, and obviously some of the highways will pass over the Yellow River as well. So I'm sure they will have some kind of method of transporting their produce to sell in China. If I understand correctly, actually nowadays in the Loess Plateau, a lot of fruits, I think especially apples, were highly valued in the Chinese market. I think they produce quite a bit of apples in the Loess Plateau.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Another way to look at the success of the greening of Loess Plateau is how the livelihood of the people improved. So it was one of the poorest regions in China because the land is barren and the people are living on subsistence farming, and they are not making a lot of money. But since the greening of the Loess Plateau, their living standard improved by about 50 times. So people are very happy. The scientific understanding of that is you try to keep the water in the land as long as possible. I mean that is. So in order to do that, they top the hilltops with trees. So trees will naturally absorb the rains. When the rain is being absorbed, then you will slowly release down the hill. As they built terraces, so the water will flow to the terrace and being held by the terrace until it flow to the terrace lower than that. So the water is being slowed down tremendously along the hillside. Initially, before all the plants get whole, there are still a lot of loess being washed down, and that's where they use a dam to hold the loess and make new planting areas. But eventually, the water become clear. All this greening also created new microclimates, because before that it was just dirt. So rainfall, then rain wash away and no more water. Now the rain is being kept there, and the plants have respiration. So the plants are actually making the soil, the atmosphere much more moist. And therefore at night, as the moistures get raised up, it condenses and have a little rain near the morning, and then replenish the water at the top of the hill, so keep the water flowing. It becomes a little ecosystem by itself. Very interesting.
Now, there are one or two people that do not show their picture, so if they want to ask a question, I can't see them put a hand up. Perhaps they could use chat if they wanted to ask a question.
Yep.
But the rest of you, I can see your hands if you want to put them up to ask a question. Is there another question, please? Well, is Colette Finley wanting to ask a question?
No.
Okay. Well, that was very interesting. Can I call on Greg Howie to give you a vote of thanks on our behalf, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Albert. I found it very, very interesting that when the Chinese, you demonstrated when the Chinese put their mind to it, that they can convert a very, very barren land, sandy waste, call it what you like, and revert it into forests, agriculture, and you said they're building a road into an area. Now, I'm not quite sure how large is our area, but you certainly whet my appetite to try and explore and see how they can put their mind to it and be so successful with all that manpower, will, and over a 10-year period. So I enjoyed your presentation on that particular area of China. As I said, I've yet got to find where it is on the Yangtze, on the Yellow River, because I have been to China a couple of times, and my wife and I enjoyed both those trips. We were going on the Tripodil down the Yangtze. We were going to spend 4 days in and around Wuhan, and as you can appreciate.
Wow.
Okay.
It's
been cancelled.
You've whetted our appetites, and I think all of us have been super interested. So thank you very much for the presentation, Albert.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Albert.
Yeah. Just a note about Wuhan. Wuhan is now reopened, so there's no more coronavirus there. So you are
Till the next wave.
the new cases in China on coronavirus yesterday was 2. There are 2 new cases. Both these 2 new cases were imported. So, but unfortunately, there's also 1 case, I think, one of the cured, recovered from the COVID-19 has shown positive results in later COVID-19 tests. So, although people have recovered, we are not 100% sure whether they are still carrying the virus because we have seen some re-emergence. But at the moment, the China opened up on May 1st, which is a public holiday for a week. During that period, from May 1st to May 5th, the total spending in China on tourism is 19 trillion yuan. So it's about 3 trillion Australian dollars in a week. So the Chinese economy is kicking back.
Where did it come from?
Mind-boggling.
Yeah, where's the
They
money
just
coming
keep printing it.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling because there are so many people in China. We are talking about 1.4 billion people. And all the medical staff which went to Wuhan during the COVID-19, they all get lifelong free accommodations in all the hotels in Wuhan and all the free entrance to all the parks and attractions in Wuhan. So they are coming back to their hometown as heroes. And got
They deserve that. They work so hard for it.
Yeah, they deserve that. They got the golden key of Wuhan city. So they got that pass, and then whenever they go back to Wuhan, they have free accommodation and visits to attractions.
Good. Well done.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Albert. See you next week.
Okay, see you next week. All right.
We have just a few minutes left, so we can socialize and just talk amongst ourselves for the next few minutes before I have to terminate the conference. But thank you so much for your time, Albert. It was very enjoyable.
Thank you. So I'll leave you now because I like to attend to other things. So see you next week.
We say bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
You setting up